we go. I don't want to check that. I want to talk to people first. If I can. So... Solas?
The chosen of Andraste. A blessed hero sent to save us all.
Sounds dashing.
Am I riding in on a shining steed?
I would have suggested a griffon, but sadly they're extinct. Joke as you will, posturing is necessary. I've journeyed deep into the Fade in ancient ruins and battlefields to see the dreams of lost civilizations. I've watched as hosts of spirits clash to reenact the bloody past in ancient wars both famous and forgotten. Every great war has its heroes. I'm just curious what kind you'll be.
What do you mean, ruins and battlefields?
Any building strong enough to withstand the rigors of time has a history. Every battlefield is steeped in death. Both attract spirits. They press against the veil, weakening the barrier between our worlds. When I dream in such places, I go deep into the Fade. I can find memories no other living being has ever seen.
That's impressive.
I've never heard of anyone going so far into the Fade. That's extraordinary.
Thank you. It's not a common field of study for obvious reasons. Not so flashy as throwing fire or lightning. The thrill of finding remnants of a 1,000-year-old dream? I would not trade it for anything. I will stay there. At least until the breach has been closed.
Was that in doubt?
I am an apostate surrounded by Chantry forces in the middle of a mage rebellion. Cassandra has been accommodating, but you understand my caution.
Cassandra trusts you. She won't let anyone put you into a circle against your will.
Thank you. I appreciate the thought. But now let us hope either the mages or the Templars have the power to seal the breach.
I would say we need them both, but is that gonna happen? Most likely not.
Closing the breach is our primary goal. But I hope we might also discover what was used to create it. Any artifact of such power is dangerous. The destruction of the Conclave proves that much.
You don't think whatever created the explosion was destroyed in the blast?
You survived, did you not? The artifact that created the breach is unlike anything seen in this age. I will not believe it destroyed until I see the shattered fragments with my own eyes.
Well,
We would do well to try to recover whatever created the breach.
Liliana's people have scoured the area near the blast and found nothing. Whatever the artifact was, it is no longer there. In any case, did you need me for anything?
I'd like to know more about you, Solas.
Why?
You're an apostate, yet you risked your freedom to help the Inquisition.
Not the wisest course of action when framed that way.
I appreciate the work you're doing, Solas. I just wanted to know more about you.
I am sorry. With so much fear in the air. What would you know of me?
Have you always traveled and studied alone?
Not at all. I have built many lasting friendships. Spirits of wisdom, possessed of ancient knowledge, happy to share what they had seen. Spirits of purpose helped me search. Even wisps, curious and playful, would point out treasures I might have missed.
I don't know of any spirits by those names.
They rarely seek this world. When they do, their natures do not often survive exposure to the people they encounter. Wisdom and purpose are too easily twisted to pride and desire.
You're saying that you became friends with pride and desire demons?
They were not demons for me.
Meaning?
The Fade reflects the minds of the living. If you expect a spirit of wisdom to be a pride demon, it will adapt. And if your mind is free of corrupting influences, if you understand the nature of the spirit, they can be fast friends.
I'm impressed that you could become friends with spirits.
Anyone who can dream has the potential. Few ever try. My friends comforted me in grief and shared my joy. Yet, because they exist without form, as we understand it, the Chantry declares that spirits are not truly people. Is Cassandra defined by her cheekbones and not her faith? Varric by his chest hair and not his wit?
Well, I'm not gonna argue this.
I'm certain you have some rhetorical trick ready to counter anything I say.
It's likely. I've had a lot of time to discuss the question with people. Or spirits, if you prefer.
You said you'd traveled to many different places.
This world, or its memory, is reflected in the Fade. Dream in ancient ruins, and you may see a city lost to history. Some of my fondest memories were found in crumbling cities, long picked dry by treasure seekers, the best of the battlefields. Spirits press so tightly on the veil that you can slip across with but a thought.
Any place in particular?
I dreamt at Ostagar. I witnessed the brutality of the Darkspawn and the valor of the Ferelden warriors. I saw Alistair and the hero Ferelden light the signal fire, and Logain's infamous betrayal of Kaelin's forces.
I've heard the stories. It would be interesting to hear what it was really like.
That's just it. In the Fade, I see reflections created by spirits who react to the emotions of the warriors. One moment, I see heroic wardens lighting the fire, and a power-mad villain sneering as he lets King Kaelin fall. The next, I see an army overwhelmed and a veteran commander refusing to let more soldiers die in a lost cause.
And you can't tell which is real?
It is the Fade. They are all real.
What made you start studying the Fade?
I grew up in a village to the north. There was little to interest a young man, especially one gifted with magic. But as I slept, spirits of the Fade showed me glimpses of wonders I had never imagined. I treasured my dreams. Being awake, out of the Fade, became troublesome.
Did spirits try to tempt you?
No more than a brightly colored fruit is deliberately tempting you to eat it. I learned how to defend myself from more aggressive spirits, and how to interact safely with the rest. I learned how to control my dreams with full consciousness. There was so much I wanted to explore.
I gather you didn't spend your entire life dreaming.
No. Eventually, I was unable to find new areas in the Fade.
Why?
2 reasons. First, the Fade reflects the world around it. Unless I traveled, I would never find anything new. Second, the Fade reflects and is limited by our imaginations. To find interesting areas, one must be interesting.
Ah.
Is this why you joined the Inquisition?
I joined the Inquisition because we were all in terrible danger. If our enemies destroyed the world, I would have nowhere to lay my head while dreaming of the Fade.
I wish you luck.
Thank you. In truth, I've enjoyed experiencing more of life to find more of the Fade.
How so?
You train to flick a dagger or an arrow to its target. The grace with which you move is a pleasing side benefit. You have chosen a path whose steps you do not dislike because it leads to a destination you enjoy. As have I.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
I like how your mind works.
Greetings.
What do you know about the Fade?
A great deal from my wanderings. There are few hard facts, but I can share what I have learned.
I'd like to know more about the Veil.
Circle mages call it a barrier between this world and the Fade. But according to my studies in ancient elven lore, that is a vast oversimplification. Without it, imagine if spirits entered freely. The Fade was not a place one went, but a state of nature like the wind.
We've got enough trouble with demons already.
But would they still be demons? Or would they be part of a natural environment, like a fast-flowing river? Yes, it can drown careless children, but it can also carry a merchant's goods or grind a miller's flour. That is what the world could be if the Veil were not present. For better or worse.
I'd like to know more about demons.
The Chantry says that demons hate the natural world and seek to bring their chaos and destruction to the living. But such simplistic labels misconstrue their motivations, and in so doing, do all a great disservice. Spirits wish to join the living, and a demon is that wish gone wrong.
Is there a way to coexist? To live with them, if not in peace, at least without such active confrontation?
Not in the world we know today. The veil creates a barrier that makes true understanding most unlikely. But the question is a good one, and it matters that you thought to ask.
I'd like to know more about the breach.
Simply put, it is a tear in the veil between this world and the Fade, allowing spirits to enter the world physically. Small tears occur naturally when magic weakens the veil, or when spirits cluster at an area that has seen many deaths. But your mark allows you to exert some control over the breach. That means it was created deliberately.
That is
We'll
interesting.
talk later.
Goodbye.
I like how you think.
Hello.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
I really do like how you think. It's a very interesting point of view, for sure. Apothecary. Find recipes through exploration or by visiting merchants. Visit an apothecary with the herbs you gather in the wilderness to upgrade potions. Use the equip station to assign different potions to each of your party members and to determine which potion you are carrying. Use the upgrade station to unlock permanent upgrades to your potions. Okay, cool. You can upgrade potions you have already unlocked. To upgrade a potion, select the category, select the potion, and select the upgrade. A potion upgrades require a significant amount of herbs to unlock. Return and give permanent associated with bonus potions. Increase healing. I don't have tonics yet. I do not have enough stuff to increase grenades. Don't think there's any more. No. Go back. Come on. Let's do that. Because we can. We do have enough ale fruit.
Segrit told me that he can't let the herbs go for anything less than 8.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Fine. We'll gather our own. Tell Segrit he better hope he doesn't need a salve anytime soon. Look who's back from the dead. Again.
I don't recall meeting you before.
I'd be surprised if you did. You weren't particularly coherent. Someone had to patch you up after you staggered out of making those wear, though. So, you're welcome.
Aw, thank you.
I didn't realize. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you can pay me back by fixing the world. Name's Aaand. I'm in charge of keeping our little band here stocked with potions and elixirs. Not that Seeker Pentagast seems to care whether we've got the supplies to actually do that.
I found notes by a Master Tajin. I wondered if you might be interested.
Let me have a look. This should... Oh, I see. With a distillate of... The old codger was on the edge of a breakthrough here, but he couldn't see it. You want some of these mixed up, you just give the word.
Nice. Lyrium potions.
How are your people holding up?
We've got Mother Giselle lending a hand now, which helps. For the ones that need comforting more than actual healing, she's a rock in fast water. Something to cling to.
For a healer, you don't seem particularly nurturing.
I'm not a healer. I'm an alchemist who's forced to play Mother Hen. You want something to burst into flame on contact with the air? Done. Gladly. Patching up wounded soldiers is a waste of my time and talents. But there are a few around who can help.
Oh. Oh well.
How do I go about having potions made?
Just take a look there and tell me what you'd like. Find a recipe for something better, I can make that too.
Nice. Let's see. Soulless. That is more useful for you. Have so many elf fruit, that's not a problem.
Let me know if you need anything.
Yes, sir. Ew. Regeneration potion. Nice. Ah, need Black Lotus. Okay, cool. And Teban Fire. "68 seconds. I want another pushing thing. I thought someone of us had the belt that actually allowed us to have. Oh, it's the capacity, not the actual. Okay, I need to upgrade that somehow. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. What? Yeah, okay, it's just a table. Never mind. I get confused sometimes, okay. The Singing Maiden. Have you ever heard the story of King Bedwyr? Bedwyr, like most kings, was a man of great pride who expected nothing but complete loyalty from his subjects. He believed the best way to achieve this was through fear. After all, those who feared him would never cross him or question his rule. Most importantly, those who feared him would always seek to please him. Let's see. Bedwyr cultivated terror in his subordinates through the gleeful and unrestrained use of a contraption referred to as the Maiden. The Maiden was a hinged iron casket as high and wide and deep as a man, with vicious spikes within, meant to pierce through the poor souls locked into it. Bedwyr's Maiden was a prized possession and stood in place of honor in his throne room, often with screaming victims still inside it. Political rivals, suspected assassins, treasonous ministers, the Maiden consumed them all. But as time passed, more people were given to the Maiden for increasingly trivial offences: the cook for oversalting the king's food, the page boy for dropping his sword. The Maiden cast a pall over the kingdom, and its people prayed for the deliverance from the cruel king. Then one day a strange woman rode into the city. She called herself Ember and was an emissary from a far-off land. Her leaders had heard, she said, of Bedwy's wisdom and authority, and she sought the king's counsel. The thought that he had earned the adulation of brother kings across the sea made Bedwyr swell with pride, and he granted Ember an audience. They dined and danced, and through it all Ember flattered and fawned on the king. At the end of the night, Ember asked to see the Maiden, the infamous device that had given Bedwyr all his power. The king, giddy with praise, proudly presented Ember with the empty contraption. Ember looked at the Maiden, sighed with disappointment, and said, "That does not look terrifying at all. I should have imagined the spikes to be much sharper." Bedwyr grew red at her comment and replied, "The spikes are sharp enough. Look at the blood that will still cling to them." "But it's so small," said Ember. "Are only children and women victims?" Bedwyr grew redder still and replied, "Of course not. The Maiden has devoured many men." Ember shook her head and said to the king, "I do not believe it. Surely no warrior could fear this thing. A man like yourself, tall and muscled, would not fit within." The king laughed and saw a way to prove the merit of the Maiden to Ember. "I will show you how easily a man like myself could fit," he said, and with that he stepped into the device. But Ember was waiting, and no sooner had Bedwyr squeezed himself into the iron casket than Ember slammed it shut on him. Ember took the Maiden, with screaming Bedwyr inside, through the castle and down into the city, and the people, finally free from the king's tyranny, cheered and danced to the singing that echoed through the street, until Bedwyr was dead and it finally stopped. A tale often told in a Singing Maiden tavern. That's harsh. Well, fitting end though. Very fitting end.
These truths the Maker has revealed to me, as there is but one God, one
Right.
So we're heretics, just like that. Should we surrender?
So, Cullen,
We are the
what's up with you?
Mages and Templars were already at war. Now they're blaming each other for the Divine's death.
Which is why we require a proper authority to guide them back to order.
Who? You? Random clerics who weren't important enough to be at the Conclave?
The Rebel Inquisition and its so-called Herald of Andraste? I think not.
So far, you're the only one who's insisted we can't work together.
We might, if your Inquisition would recognize the Chantry's authority.
There is no authority until another Divine is chosen.
In due time, Andraste will be our guide, not some dazed wanderer on a mountainside.
The Mages and Templars are fighting, even though we don't know what really happened at the Temple of Sacred Ashes.
Exactly why all this should be left to a new Divine. If you are innocent, the Chantry will establish it as so.
Or we'll be happy to use someone as a scapegoat.
You think nobody cares about the truth? We all grieve Justinia's loss.
But you won't grieve if the Herald of Andraste is conveniently swept under a carpet.
How widespread is the violence between Mages and Templars?
Impossible to say.
Your organization flouting the Chantry's authority will not help matters.
With the Conclave destroyed, I imagine the war between Mages and Templars is renewed with interest.
Remind me why you're allowing the Chancellor to stay?
Clearly, your Templar knows where to draw the line.
He's toothless. There's no point turning him into a martyr simply because he runs at the mouth. The Chancellor's a good indicator of what to expect in Val Royeaux, however.
I'll make sure they see reason in Val Royeaux.
I pray you're right. I will keep the peace, while you and the others appeal to the Chantry in Val Royeaux.
Better ready yourself for the blame you will be rightly assigned.
Guess there's nothing
I
more.
will keep the peace, while you and the others appeal to the Chantry in Val Royeaux.
Better ready yourself.
Yeah, okay. That's all you have to say. Cool.
Speak only the word. Sing only the
Research in the
charm.
nave wishes to verify
Then
that the infections
golden
have
city
decreased
is
in number.
thine.
Yes. Thank you for your help. Tell me, are you... Greetings, Herald
shit.
of Andraste. How fares your quest to seal the breach?
I'm doing everything within my power.
A task, such as closing the breach, is a heavy burden. I hope you do not carry it alone. We remember Andraste, but Andraste did not carry the Chant of Light alone. She had generals, advisors, even her husband for a time. Do everything within your power, but remember those who would help you.
You keep talking as though I'm the equal of Andraste. Do you know how unnerving that is?
I can only imagine. But we are all given to our purpose under the Maker. A sword does not ask to be forged. And frankly, if such a comparison gives you pause, I do not see that as a bad thing. In any case, I pray this Inquisition proves less brutal than its predecessor.
Oh, gods, I hope so.
Can you tell me about the original Inquisition?
The original Inquisition was formed after the First Blight, well before the Chantry as we know it. The Inquisitors were hunters, zealots, who tracked and killed cultists and dangerous mages. As Andraste rose to power, the Inquisition came into her service. Instead of hunting those who would do harm, the Inquisitors spread the Chant of Light by force.
It must be difficult to follow the Chant of Light, knowing how it's spread.
Indeed. I have always believed that the Maker wished us to spread the Chant of Light by example, not violence. In any case, once the Chant of Light had spread far and wide, there was less need for zealots. The Inquisitors became the seekers of truth, and eventually the Templars.
This is a dark chapter of history for the Divine to revisit.
Do you know what impresses me most about the original Inquisition? They fought horrific battles, killed and died for their cause, and when it was time, they put their swords away. Perhaps the name was divine, Justinia's message, that when the Inquisition is needed, it will strike without mercy. But when its work is done, it will put its sword away.
You know, I grew up around humans, but I never learned much about the Chantry. Can you tell me about it?
Oh, wow. That's one way to do it. Founding of the Chantry. Cordillus Dracon, king of the city-state of Orlais, was a man of uncommon ambition. In the year 15 Ancient, the young king began construction of a great temple dedicated to the Maker and declared that by its completion he would not only have united the warring city-states of the south, he would have brought Andrastian belief to the world. It should be minus 15 Ancient, I guess. In minus 3 Ancient, the temple was completed. There, in its heart, Draken knelt before the eternal flame of Andraste and was crowned ruler of the Empire of Orlais. His first act as emperor to declare the Chantry as the established Andrastian religion of the Empire. It took 3 years and several hundred votes before Alessa of Montsemard was elected to lead the new Chantry. Upon her coronation as divine, she took the name Justinia in honor of the disciple who recorded Andraste's song. In that moment, the ancient era ended and the divine age began. From Ferelden Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Oh, bloody hell, there's a lot. Chantry Hierarchy. The Divine is the titular head of the Chantry, although since the schism split the Imperial Chantry into its own faction, there are now in fact 2 Divines at any one time. One Divine, informally called the White Divine, is a woman housed in the Grand Cathedral in Val Royeaux. The other, known as the Black Divine, is a man housed in the Argent Spire in Minrathos. Neither divine recognizes the existence of the other, and the informal names are considered sacrilegious. No matter the gender, a divine is addressed as most holy and your perfection. Beneath the rank of divine is the Grand Cleric. Each Grand Cleric presides over numerous chantries and represents the highest religious authority of the region. They travel to Val Royeaux when the College of Clerics convenes, but otherwise remains where they are assigned. All Grand Clerics are addressed as Your Grace. Beneath the Grand Cleric is the Mother, or the Imperial Chantry, the Father. If a mother is in charge of a particular chantry, Reverd is appended to her title. These are the priests responsible for administering to the spiritual well-being of the flock. A mother or revered mother is addressed as Your Reverence. Brothers and sisters from the rank and file of the Chantry consists of 3 main groups: Affirmed, Initiates, and Clerics. Affirmed are the lay brethren of the Chantry, those regular folk who have turned to the Chantry for succor. Often they are people who have led a difficult or irreligious life and have chosen to go into seclusion, or even orphans and similar unfortunates who were raised into Chantry life. The Affirmed take care of the Chantry and are in turn afforded a life of quiet contemplations, no questions asked. Only those folk who take vows become initiates. These are men and women in training, whether in academic knowledge or the martial skills of a warrior. All initiates receive an academic education, although only those who seek to become Templars learn how to fight in addition. Clerics are the true academics of the Chantry, those men and women who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge. They are often found in Chantry archives, sages presiding over libraries of books and arcane knowledge. The most senior of these clerics, placed in charge of such archives, are given the title Elder, although such a rank is still beneath that of Mother. All other brothers and sisters are addressed simply by noting their title before the name, such as Brother Genitive. From a guide for ambassadors from Rivain.
Of course. Too many think that the chant of light should only be sung by humans. The truth is that knowledge of the Maker and Andraste should be open to all who wish to learn of him. We believe the Maker created us, and that mankind's sinful nature caused him to turn away. With Andraste's blessing, the Maker will forgive mankind once the chant of light is sung from all corners of this world.
There were calls for an exalted march to put down the Mage Rebellion. What was your opinion?
It was ignorant gossip. An exalted march only succeeds when it carries the will of the people. Even then, it cannot be undertaken lightly. People are too easily frightened. We cannot destroy everything they fear. An exalted march is justified only against a true threat to this whole world. It is an offense to the Maker to use it as a political bludgeon, or as a means of spreading the chant of light.
What about the exalted march that conquered the elves?
That is a hotly debated matter in some circles of the Chantry. The elves had conquered Montsemard and threatened Val Royeaux itself. They were not helpless victims. But even then, Orlais was the only nation to provide troops. It was hardly an exalted march of all the faithful. The Maker wishes his world to spread by example, not by war. We win no converts with blood.
Why does the Chantry allow only human women to become priestesses?
The official doctrine is that elves and dwarves have turned further from the Maker than humanity. And as for men, the chant holds that they are more vulnerable to anger or passion. But in truth, it is simply political, added after Andraste's death, like too many of our beliefs.
If you don't believe these restrictions are what Andraste wanted, why haven't you tried to change them?
Has the current state of the world not taught you the folly of fighting too many battles at once? I chose to use what power I had to help peasants forgotten by the nobles of Orlais. I believed there would be time to address their inequality under the Chantry once we had saved them from starving.
Well, that is an honorable way to think at it.
What is your stance on magic?
Andraste put it simply. Magic must serve man, not rule over him. However, those words must be put into the proper historical context. Andraste led a rebellion against the Tevinter Imperium, whose magisters controlled most of the world at the time. Even then, she never called for all mages to be put to death. She believed in peaceful coexistence.
I don't recall the Chantry being as tolerant of magic as you describe.
No. The Chantry is an imperfect vessel, pulled in every direction by those who would steer its course. Yet the Templars rebelled precisely because divine Justinia was not restrictive enough. Perhaps the Inquisition will find a better way.
Let's hope so.
Farewell.
Make her go with you.
The Inquisition cannot remain, Ambassador, if you can't prove it was founded on Justinia's orders.
This is an inopportune time, Marquis. More of the faithful flock here each day. But allow me to introduce you to the brave soul who risked her life to slow the magic of the breach. Mistress Kadash, this is the Marquis d'Aurelion, one of Divine Justinia's greatest supporters.
And the rightful owner of Haven. House d'Aurelion lent Justinia these lands for pilgrimage. This Inquisition is not a beneficiary of this arrangement.
This is the first I've heard of Haven having an owner outside the Chantry.
My wife, Lady Machin of Denver, has claimed to Haven by ancient treaty with the monarchs of Ferelden. We were honored to lend its use to Divine Justinia. She was a woman of supreme merit. I will not let an upstart order remain on her holy grounds.
People have been injured. You can't just turn them out onto the snow.
And who benefits if they stay?
Divine Justinia, Marquis. The Inquisition, not the Chantry, is sheltering the pilgrims who mourn her.
Why is the Chantry ignoring the faithful?
Because it remains in shock. We face a dark time, Your Grace. Divine Justinia would not want her passing to divide us. She would, in fact, trust us to forge new alliances to the benefit of all, no matter how strange they might seem.
I'll think on it, Lady Montillier. The Inquisition might stay in the meanwhile.
Do the Durellians actually have a claim on this place?
His Grace's position is not so strong as he presents it. Despite their Ferelden relations, the Durellions are our legion. If the Marquis wishes to claim Haven, Empress Selene must negotiate with the Ferelden on his behalf. Her current concerns are a bit larger than minor property disputes.
I'm so pleased the Marquis isn't tossing us out into the cold.
His Grace is only the first of many dignitaries we must contend with.
You expect more people in Haven?
Undoubtedly. And each visitor will spread the story of the Inquisition after they depart. An ambassador should ensure the tale is as complimentary as possible.
What sort of dealings have you had with nobility?
For some years, I was the royally appointed court ambassador from Antiva to Orlais. The nobility of Thedas is a rather singular sphere. Those I'm not acquainted with, I know through reputation.
May I ask what brought you to work for the Inquisition?
Sister Leliana approached me. We've been acquainted for quite some time. For better or worse, being the Inquisition's diplomat has become as interesting as she promised.
The Inquisition is lucky to have you as an advocate, Lady Montillier.
Thank you. Let us hope so. Thedas's politics have become agitated as of late. I hope to guide us down smoother paths. But please excuse me. I've much work to do before the day is done.
We can use that. Please tell me if you find something. You're the Herald. Or, well, the one they're calling the Herald, anyway. I hope the Inquisition can restore order soon. I never really wanted to leave the Circle. My name is Maeve. I research demons and other creatures. Seeker Pentagast and I use what I find to help the soldiers fight them.
I found something the demons left behind. Can you use it?
Yes, that's very helpful. Just leave it there and the Tranquil and I will examine it. You've brought back some fascinating things. We're putting them to good use.
You said you were a mage.
No, just an apprentice. I was never very good at magic. I've got just enough talent to be a danger to other people. But when the mages rebelled, people like me had nowhere to go. The Templars would have killed us. Luckily, Seeker Pentagast took me in, along with the Tranquil I was protecting.
You said that you were keeping some of the Tranquils safe?
Yes. The mages took some of them when my Circle rebelled, but the rest were forgotten. Most Circle mages look down on the Tranquil, or try to pretend they don't exist. They don't have any emotions. They can barely take care of themselves, can't defend themselves at all. It's a shame. I like them better than most people.
I'm glad they have someone who cares about them.
They deserve better. They're polite, they're rational, and they'll never get angry at you. When they study, they have a focus no normal person could ever match. But the Templars, even some of the mages, mistreated them just because they could. The Tranquil never fought back. If not for that, I don't know. Doesn't really matter now.
I'm surprised that even an apprentice mage wouldn't join the rebellion.
I don't like using magic to fight. I'm not good at it either. I like studying. I like performing rituals that helped us unlock the secrets of the Veil. I liked having the Templars around to keep us safe.
Most Circle mages I've met have a different opinion of the Templars.
They have not lived my life. I was born into a Dalish clan. I lived there until my magic manifested. The Dalish cannot risk having too many mages in one clan. And I was one more than they could bear. They gave me a pack and sent me into the woods to find my own life. I was 7 years old.
No wonder you'd rather stay in the circle. You had more than enough life outdoors.
I stumbled into a village, starving and cold, a few weeks later. I started using magic to scare predators away. The villagers saw me make fire in my fist. They were terrified and wanted to kill me. Templars saved me from them. They gave me food and clothes and took me to the circle. I've seen what life is like without the Templars, and I want no part of it. I just want to study.
You say Cassandra has you researching creatures.
Yes. If you find anything interesting in your travels, I'd appreciate you bringing it to me. I may be able to find some weakness our soldiers can exploit when fighting various creatures. At the least, some materials are useful for making potions or gear for the Inquisition.
Why did you decide to research dangerous creatures?
I like the outdoors. The idea of the outdoors, anyway. When some monster is coming at you, glowing eyes and burning claws, it's terrifying. But once you know how it works, you can deal with it. It's just another part of the world. So much of this world is only frightening because we don't understand it.
I'll speak with you later.
Thank you again for what you've brought back.
So many sensible people. I approve of this.
Greetings.
Tell me how you came to work for the Inquisition again?
I'd been considering leaving my post in Antiva for a new challenge when Leliana recruited me. There's such unrest in Talos, and the Inquisition seems a promising method to stop it. It's to everyone's benefit if we prevent the Mage-Templar conflict from spreading further.
So was it the prospect of stability that drew you here?
The full impact of the Mage Rebellion has yet to be felt, and that was before the death of the Divine. The violence must be curbed before we see it turn to full-scale war.
I can only imagine the bloodshed if it escalates further.
I'm afraid history holds many examples of what will happen if it does.
How do you and Liliana know each other?
We moved through similar circles in Orlais. I believe we actually met in Val Royeaux. Leliana was quite an accomplished player of the game by then.
What exactly do you mean when you say the game?
Forgive me. The game refers to the slow duels of influence among the noble and powerful of Orlais. It's a rather light-hearted name for the matter, but Orlesians are fond of playful touches.
Deadly playful touches.
What business are the Montiliers in, exactly?
We began as merchants. My ancestors founded the first trade routes to Rivain. We once sent entire fleets across the Waking Sea.
But not anymore?
No. These days, our vessels are a touch more modest.
What did you do before coming here?
I had the great honor of serving Antiva's crown as ambassador to Orlais. I'm also first in line to become the head of House Montilier, though my siblings attend to our mercantile affairs.
How strong are your past loyalties?
I would never have given up my position if I did not intend to fully commit to the Inquisition. We cannot fall back on borders. Antiva is as threatened as any country by the rebellions. If anything, the alliances I forged there may help our current cause.
Do you think the Inquisition will continue after we seal the breach?
If we prove ourselves by healing the breach, people may turn to us for other things. Protection, counsel, justice. The Inquisition offered these once to those in need.
Tell me, do you believe I was saved by Andraste at the Temple of Sacred Ashes?
I should much like to believe so, Your Worship. The miracles Andraste performed were so long ago, they're difficult to picture. If it were truly her and the Fate who saved you... Well, in any case, many already believe you walk in the Maker's light.
Let's speak later.
Another time.
Well, that's interesting. I was only gonna check out the room, but fine. Right, you are.
Blessed are the righteous.
So,
Blessed are the righteous. In their blood, the Maker's will is written. In their blood, the Maker's will is written.
Anyway, I'm gonna cut it here, so we'll take to the war room next time. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and tune in to the next one.
Judge me whole.